and welcome to another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And today we're joined by...
Nick Clark, MD of Cyrus.
Nick, thanks for being a part of Hi-Fi Riff, and more importantly, thank you for having us. Because would you like to tell our riffers where we are?
Well, actually, we're at the SMS Electronics production facility in Nottingham, where all the Cyrus equipment is made.
Fantastic. And look, can I just say as well, we're on an extremely comfy sofa for a change. I think David and I need to steal your sofa.
Yes.
If that's
Can you
okay.
get it in the back of the car, Mike?
Yeah, well, I can get it on the roof without a problem, I think. So
It was hard enough carrying it in here, never mind carrying it to your car.
Well, and also it came with some really flashy cushions, but we weren't allowed to use those apparently, which is a bit disappointing. But there we are. We'll steal those for future riff, I think.
That you can do, because I think they weren't on brand according to my marketing colleagues' brand colours.
So we ended up with the cheap cushions.
I don't think we're filming a sequel to Austin Powers, Mike.
If we were, then they would be perfect cushions, and I think what we'll have to do is have to take a photo just to prove to the fact that you have the best cushions.
How vibrant they are
in the hi-fi industry.
So, Mike, you've basically come here with me to see how Cyrus products are made, and all you can think of are those cushions.
Well, welcome to Hi-Fi Riff. That's all I can say. But no, seriously, thank you very much for having us.
It's been my pleasure.
And we've just had the pleasure of doing a factory tour. And it's funny because David and I we're obviously in Nottingham. We've sort of driven a few hours to get here, and we were having a chat on the way up, and we really didn't quite know what to expect. And it's really quite mind-blowing, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing factory.
Yes.
And there's so much tech and so much kit, and of course, based in the UK, made in Britain.
Well, absolutely.
Well, unless Nottingham has moved, Mike, I think that's a pretty obvious statement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In comparison to a lot of other hi-fi manufacturers.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time looking around. I mean, I'm sure Izzy, our product manager here, will be pleased to hear that. So, thank you.
And she even made us wear lab coats and weird anti-static things as well. So,
well, there's a serious side to that because the factory has procedures that they have to follow. And that's a very important part of that for the quality of the product they build.
Yes, and you build everything here.
That's right, yes. It's the complete box build from bare circuit boards, bare components. So you saw the sort of SMT production line, which
surface mount technology.
Thank you.
Yes.
Stop me if I start using too many acronyms. That's pretty much state of the art. The guys here are not afraid of investing in the very best kit that they need,
sure.
All the way through to the final box build where the unit's assembled, tested, put in a carton, and then shipped to the end customer.
And you make the classic amps made here, the power supplies,
yes,
the CD player,
that's correct,
transport,
that's right,
streamer.
That will be very soon, yes.
Okay.
So at time of recording, next month.
Fantastic. That's something to very much look forward to. Brilliant. And power amps as well.
Yes, we have a couple of new power amps coming soon as well. So that's exciting times here.
It sounds like it is. Yeah. And we've really enjoyed it. And we actually the reason why we've come up here is because we did a review of the classic amp, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We really liked it.
That's the one you didn't want to give back, Mike.
Yes, it's very true. It's a great amp. And
yes.
We use it with the power supply.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks. Nice to hear.
Yes, and we talked about sort of products from yesteryear, the Cyrus One, all of these things.
Well, speaking of which,
I believe we have a prop.
We got a one we made earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's one actually we made in 1984.
That's a beauty.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That really is. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's this is a 1 or a 2.
That's a 1.
That's a 1. Yeah. So complete with its moving coil switch at the back, which always got me very excited. Hot under the collar.
And really unusual positioning of the speaker terminals as well, because they're sort of upright. Sorry, I'm talking about sockets again.
You are.
We won't go down that route.
Yes, let's change the subject completely.
In polite company, we won't go down that route.
Yes, I think we're set for some rain, Mike, later. Let's get off the subject of sockets for a moment. But seriously, this was the Cyrus 1, or Mission Cyrus 1, as it then was 1984, wasn't it? That was also launched with the Cyrus 2, and I think the 1 cost roughly £125.
Something like 129 maybe.
Yes, and maybe 150-ish for the 2. And when Mike and I were thinking about buying our first kind of proper, fancy amplifiers, that was kind of on our radar, wasn't it?
Really much, yeah. I was on the shortlist without
yes,
a doubt.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes.
But these were very well reviewed, weren't they? And I think one of the interesting things about this is the size, the packaging, and that's something that you've always kept with, isn't it? Since then.
So even the modern variants, the classic range as we call it, and the XR range, although they don't have this construction, they have a very similar form factor.
Yeah, and there's I think the Cyrus 2 was 450 watts per channel, something like that.
That's about
40-50, but still in a kind of half-size box. And that was one of the main attractions about it, was the packaging, wasn't it?
It's really funny because I think 100%, and I completely agree with you, and I love the form factor. And there were a few other products around that time which had slightly unusual form factors.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the Creek 4040, which was really shallow in depth.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like that, wasn't it?
It was, and Nitec CA252, which looked like a calculator. Yeah. So there were some really unusual form factors there.
Yeah.
But you guys have really carried this through, haven't you? And even now, everything is of the same size. Well, pretty much the same case, actually, isn't it?
Like I say, it's a very similar construction to this. It's a cast aluminium chassis now, which all of the products are built around, but a similar footprint. But that definitely presents some challenges to the engineering team because you're trying to put a lot into a small box.
Of course.
But it allows us, to present a very compact form factor to the customer, which I think is a lot more flexible in real world situations than a monolithic amplifier box.
And having the same chassis, the same aluminium chassis for each product, actually ends up with a really lovely looking ecosystem. And out the sort of front in your showroom here, you've got a really cool rack where you can stack them all together and make
That's
it
right.
look
The hard
amazing.
rack, you can put up to 8
Really
products
like
in a
that.
sort of tower of power.
Yeah.
Again, that sort of goes to one of the other pillars of the company ethos, which is that sort of upgradeability. So you could start off with an integrated amp with a CD player, you could add a power amp to it, you could add a power supply to it.
Yes.
And you can just keep building your system.
Yes, yeah. But and can I just sort of dispel a myth as well here? Because just because they're smaller boxes doesn't mean they're in any way incapable of producing, lots of power output from the power amps, lots of great sort of sound quality from the preamps and streamers and so on. They're still no compromise products, aren't they?
Absolutely. Without delving too much into the technicalities of it, actual power output in terms of volume into the room, there's very little difference in a lot of cases. It's your ability to drive those more complex loudspeakers, and the amplifier topologies we use are very high current designs.
Yes.
So they're able to drive those speakers quite competently, and thus almost indistinguishable from much larger, what you might think as visibly more capable products.
That's funny because we were just chatting to Chris, who looks after all of your marketing, and he was saying that particularly in the States, it's sort of almost a little bit bigger is better.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not necessarily the case in the way you've just described.
No, and it's true. A lot of cliches are cliches for a reason, but it's not all pickup trucks in the States. There are some fans of Cyrus over there.
Very pleased to hear that.
Yeah, where especially on the east and west coasts, where living space is more at premium, perhaps. And we do have a number of fans over in the States.
Well, the clever thing that the Cyrus Mission Cyrus 2, and I'm using the word mission deliberately, Mike, because it was mission then, pioneered was the PSX power supply, wasn't it?
That's correct, yes.
So on the one here, you don't have the connection for it, but the Cyrus 2 had a PSX, and of course these days you carry that through with the PSXR2 now, isn't it? So basically you can add a power supply to the main integrated amplifier, and that delivers quite a useful amount of extra power, doesn't it?
In the case of the PSX, it sort of provides a better quality power supply to the power amplifier in the classic range. In the case of the XR range, where we have the PSU XR, which we call our intelligence power supply, that has 5 power supplies. I flip between 5 and 3 because there's actually 3 power supplies, of which 2 are split rails, so 5 in total. But that does add to the power output of the product because it takes over more areas of the product. And the reason we call it intelligent, by the way, is it's got a microprocessor on board. So unlike other companies we're not the only people who make additional power supplies, but a lot of our competitors make specific power supplies for specific products. Whereas we have one power supply for the entire range.
I see.
And then in the case of the PSXR2, it takes a reference voltage, amplifies that, and sends that voltage back. So it's flexible. You can plug it into any classic product. The same with the PSU-XR. But in the case of that, the two microprocessors have a little chitty chat, and then it sends the appropriate power supplies that the product wants to it.
So basically, you've got the ability to start with a small form factor product and then scale it up in terms of, amplifier power or speaker load driving ability. Using an additional power supply, PSXR2 or the
PSU-XR.
That's it. That's a very elegant solution, isn't it? Because you end up with a pretty powerful integrated amplifier by any standards when it's got the additional power supply.
That's correct.
So
it's really clever as well because, say for example, you've got say the i9. Then when you fire it up, apart from saying made in Britain,
which it does,
it's the first thing it does. Then it tells you if it's successfully connected to the power supply as well, doesn't it?
That's
so
right. You've got a visible acknowledgement that the power supply, everything's working as it should do. And if you feel a little insecure as you're listening to it, you can also go into the menu structure and get some information about the power supply that's connected to it.
It's really cool, and also you only have to actually fire up the pre-out, the i9, and it automatically fires up the power supply as well, doesn't it?
And that's true of any product that's connected to a power supply, so a CD player, blah.
Yeah, excellent. And so, tell me about your CD player. How's all that going? We still a market for CDs these days?
Absolutely, yes. It's going along quite steadily. Actually, I'd have thought in this world of streaming and even a certain vinyl revolution, it would have waned a little. But no, our CD players are still going strong. Still getting best in class at Hi-Fi Awards and other magazines. So we're very happy with it. A lot of R&D work went into that servo evolution, and I think the results of that are being shown.
Yeah, and also we were having a chat with Izzy, who was showing us around your factory, and she was saying that the reliability of them is absolutely fantastic as well. Really, really second to none. So she was extolling their virtues.
Oh yes, a lot of work has gone into that as well because CDs, electromechanical devices, you need to be very careful what you're doing, and yes, a lot of work has gone into that reliability. So we're very happy with the way that's worked.
I was just going to say, I think we were really impressed with the kind of whole quality control aspect, weren't we? Particularly with regard to making sure that all the products all the components are working just so. So all your amplifiers sound the same. They're all of an excellent standard. Right up there. I was really impressed with that. I thought it was excellent.
Well, as you went around the factory, I'm sure as he showed you a few bits and pieces, but the guys here make stuff for many people, including aerospace and even satellites.
Yes.
So you've kind of got to be sure that your satellite's working because 250,000 miles is a bit of a service call.
Just a bit, yes, just a bit.
But the point there is that we're using the same production processes and machines and people that are making those, so we have exemplary quality control.
So is that one of the reasons why you chose not to manufacture in China? I mean, obviously you've done the one cast,
that's right,
which I believe was done in China, but you're basically all the mainstay of the Cyrus range, include all the range now, I think, isn't it?
All the current range, yes.
So what are the pros and cons? Because a lot of people wonder why some manufacturers some companies decide to manufacture in China and others don't.
It's a very sort of subtle and nuanced debate that you have with yourself over that, because there are, as you say, lots of pros and cons. Like take, for example, your proximity and your control is one of the primary ones. In my past life doing manufacturing in the Far East, a problem arose. you'd be looking for a flight, go down to Heathrow, get on the plane. It'd be 2-3 days before you were able to get on site.
That's right, because we met in Shenzhen the first time, didn't we?
I wasn't going to mention our trips to Shenzhen. That's probably not for on camera, but here in Nottingham,
Mike's looking jealous.
I just don't know how you get to do it.
What goes on to a station?
Well, what can I say?
But we're the R&D facility, myself and the marketing and logistics and other functions are based in Huntingdon, so that's like an hour and 20 minutes. So there's a problem in the morning, we can be here by lunchtime. There's obviously the obvious elephant in the room is cost. It's still cheaper to manufacture in China at headline numbers, but then you have to factor in all of the trips that you have to send people over to China. It's not a fire and forget process. So when you're a low volume, high quality manufacturer like us, that those costs are the same as if you were making millions of something. So the trips over to China all start to add up. So it's and costs are rising in China. You say we met in Shenzhen. I'm guessing that was 25 years ago or
something like
thereabouts.
You were IAG.
That's correct. Yes. The costs have risen sharply in China, even to the fact that in my past life, I was moving factory facilities from China to Vietnam, basically chasing lower costs.
So the way you're doing it now, so it's basically a trip from Cambridge to Nottingham, isn't it? If you've got a problem. And obviously the factory facilities that we've seen here, are kind of second to none in quality. That superb quality control. Everything is heavily surface mount, as you'd expect, and done to kind of world class standards, isn't it? So it's you've got quality and you've got the sort of ability to take action if you need to quickly if there's a problem or an issue in manufacturing, and it's also good to be a British brand that makes stuff in the UK as well.
Well, there's of course the whole carbon footprint element to it as well. We make products that last a long time, and people have them a long time. We still service 40-year-old product, so we're intrinsically green in that respect.
Yes, it's not that green to ship stuff from one side of the world to the other 9,000 miles, is it?
But then you're not flying people all around the world all the time. You're not shipping stuff 6,000 miles from China. So we're doing our bit there.
And so you've only recently taken over the job of managing director at Cyrus. So when did you start? Was it last January last year?
That's right. I've got to stop at some point saying I'm the new boy. But, it's nearly 18 months now. So January 22.
Got your feet under the desk.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. So when you joined Cyrus and you'd come from Harman, had you?
That's right, yes. I'd done 5 years at Harman and 10 years at Arcan before that, before Harman acquired them.
Yeah, and then before that you'd been at Tag McLaren and you'd been at Audiolab before that.
That's right, yes.
So certainly an industry veteran.
Sadly, yes.
You're making him sound really old.
Yeah, well, I think the lack of hair shows that.
I disagree.
But he's okay, so you've taken over, you've started as MD of Cyrus. What was on your to-do list when you joined?
I think the primary one was to basically refocus the company to its strengths. So the product lineup, why we did things, what we did, how we did it, just refocus it to what the company was strong at. When I first joined, I think it would be fair to say that there were quite a number of products that almost felt like they were made because they could be made, not because they should be made. So if you now go to the website, which has not been nicely redesigned too, there's a very clear offering of 2 ranges: preamplifier, power amplifier, integrated amplifier, CD player, CD transport, power supply, and soon to be streamers.
And very nice phono stage.
And a very nice phono stage. Sorry, I missed that out. Thank you.
It's for us analog aficionados.
Well, yes, and we're not ignoring that analog side of things either, because actually, whilst it may not initially seem like it, the kind of design skill set and competencies that you need to do a really great DAC and a really great digital product are actually not dissimilar to what you need to do for a really good phono stage.
There you go.
It's that noise control, very careful attention to layout and product design, kind of two sides of the same coin.
And of course, the thing which we haven't really talked about is the performance. How do they sound? And sort of to answer my own question, I met you at the Bristol show very briefly last year, and it was just one of the best sounds of the whole of the show. It was amazing. And I remember sort of saying, what are we listening to here? Is it, the sort of have you sort of buy-amped the stereo amplifiers and all this stuff? And you said, no, it's just simply just the i9 and the power supply.
Yes, i9 and the PSU XR.
It was really good. It was really, really good. So
and he's not actually toading up to you, Nick. He actually said that to me as well.
At Bristol.
So
I said, you should really got to go to the Cyrus room, because it was really good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
And it's not easy to get a good sound at Bristol either, is it?
It's not, but we all face the same challenges, so
Yes, yeah. So talking about timelines, you've got but you may have. We've got a big birthday coming up next year.
Well, yes. I mean, like David said, the whole thing started off in 1984. So 2024 is the big 40. And
life begins at 40.
Absolutely.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, I dimly remember 40. But no, we'd like to do something pretty special next year.
Okay.
So.
Sort of watch this space.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And pretty special must be pretty special, because you're doing pretty special at the moment. So.
Oh, thank you very much. But yes, and I'm smiling on the inside, because obviously I know what we're doing.
Well, yeah, we're quite excited to find out, because at the moment it's a top secret project.
We know a bit of what you're doing as well, but we can't say otherwise.
I don't know.
Oh well, there you go. So.
That's not fair. How does that Excellent.
Well, there'll be some exciting socket related action, Mike.
Absolutely,
for you, so.
Yes, yeah. Perhaps the back will be at the front.
God knows.
Well,
excellent.
Yes. Maybe one socket will move that people have mentioned before.
Okay.
Top shelf material.
Absolutely, you've got to be careful on that bombshell.
Yeah.
But look, Nick, thank you so much for allowing us to come here, use your facilities. It's been a pleasure to meet you and all of your team. Yeah. And I think on behalf of Hi-Fi Riff, we want to wish you just the very, very best with Cyrus moving into the future and for your 40th anniversary.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you both.
It's been brilliant.
Thank you.
And also, thank you very much indeed for watching another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.